He was described as this sex god.
Sex gods.
Stand up! Hey Vixens, I'm Nirali and welcome to my visuals. And in today's visual, we're going to be talking about the British coming-of-age nightmare that is known as Angus, Thongs and Perfect Snogging. Now, if you forgot all about this movie, let me just catch you up to speed. This movie is about bras, spits, male prostitution, cat schemes, a happily ever after surrounded in pick-me-ism. I hope that helps. This movie is a bit about a girl who's coming of age and she feels like she has to be in a race to mature and get a boyfriend. And yes, we will be dragging Jenna and her fake ass trying to reheat Anna Nicole Smith's nachos. Could never, babe. Literally, her fake ass. Let's just get into it. I'm not gonna lie, I think this movie kind of gaslit an impressionable generation of young women, us, Gen Z, into thinking that you have to go through so much turmoil and conflict either with yourself, your family, and your friends in order to be seen as worthy of male validation. Visually, I would say the movie is aesthetic, the warm tones, chill soundtrack, and the overall vibes of the movie it's a bit welcoming and it's a kind of a good feeling. While this movie is funny and it has its laughs and it can get chuckles out of you, that doesn't hide the fact that Georgia and some of her friends, if not all of her friends, completely shifted their personalities and faked personas of themselves in order to get a boy. So for example, let's say Georgia, she faked her confidence, maturity, she faked a lot of even some of her interests in order to get this heartthrob and sex god Robbie to like her.
Poor. They are sex gods.
While this is where a lot of the pick-me-ism starts, it starts at a young age because girls are now in the vicinity where they see other girls that have things that boys are attracted to. For example, Jenna, she has the bigger bust, she has a bum, it's fake, she was stuffing her bra, and Georgia and her friends pick up on that, but it's noted and rooted in jealousy. They don't like the fact, or they resent the fact that Jenna is getting all of the male attention because she has bigger features, and by bigger features I mean assets, excuse me. Despite the internalized misogyny and the unnecessary perversion, which I want to touch on a bit if I remember, this movie is pretty funny. Georgia is attending a Halloween party and she's in an olive costume. Her father is trying to get her in the car so she can drive there. He was trying to get her there, but she wants to be grown. She wants to be seen as an adult and not be seen in the car with her dad in that embarrassing costume. But I mean, we all know what happened.
Humiliating!
She's the only one in the ridiculous costume. Her friends, her fake ass friends, but I'll give them a little pass because they're like 14, 15, are in more risque or more acceptable costumes. One's an angel, another one's, I want to say a devil, but their theme was to be fruits or something along those lines. Hors d'oeuvres or edibles, if you will. Not those kind of edibles, but you get what I'm saying, like little hand-picked fruits, you know? But one of the friends said, guys don't like weird girls. So they opted for, or she said something along those lines.
But boys don't like girls for funniness.
So they opted for something that'll get the guy's attention, and right then and there, that's where this idea of doing things for guys comes from. That's where it starts. From our perspectives, that's what we see. But clearly, based on the conversation with the lip gloss, we see that this is an idea or an ideal mentality that they have had prior to that Halloween costume party. And this movie is humorous, yes, but it makes you question at some points, why are we laughing at very, very young girls who are humiliating themselves for these boys? And the whole time, these dudes are farting fire and they probably have shit streaks in their drawers. Let's get into the Pick Me Olympics, Georgia versus Jenna. So I feel like this movie could be studied in a gender studies class. Georgia is trying to win Robbie by any means, right? So she fakes her personality, maturity, her confidence, interests, etc. While Georgia is also faking it, not that we know that, or not that we know. She's stuffing her bra, she's stuffing her ass, and she's catering her presence to the males, right? All while they're over here farting fire. When we were younger, it just looks like these girls were in a spat that's supposed to be taken as funny. But now that we're older, it has to be taken a bit more seriously because, I mean, obviously this movie has nuance, and as we grow up, we also develop certain things. We also develop because of experiences and other things like that, such as taking in the media. We have to look at things a bit differently because we're getting more mature. Some of us, because age does not equal maturity. I said all that to say this movie is pushing the agenda that you have to do certain things in order to be worthy, and that equates to your worth. the Pick Me Hunger Games a little bit, if you will. Pick Me Hunger Games. I mean, all these girls, they go into a tiff, I believe the word is, for Rob especially. Like, the bitches love Robbie. Like, I mean, he's boring. All we know is that his name is Robbie, and does he play guitar? Because I don't know if, like, I don't remember much facts about him other than the fact that he was described as this sex god.
Sex gods.
Stand up!
By all these girls. But these girls, they turn on each other for these male attention, and their friendship ends up being collateral damage for a good portion of this movie. This movie also does set kind of a fantasy, kind of like High School Musical in a way, where that once you reach high school or once you reach a certain age in teenagehood, that everything will just start falling into place. You get bigger boobs, you get a bigger butt, all the boys will love you, you get a boyfriend, you get good grades, you get into the college of your dreams, and everything will be good and dandy. But no, newsflash, 15 is the age where everything starts to fall apart. Physically, mentally, internally, you start to have a lot of insecurities. Your body's going through a lot of changes that you cannot recognize or process, even though we should have, because we were in biology. But I don't think they were teaching some of that in biology and sex ed. And you're kind of in like a quarter life crisis, if you will, because you're like, what is going on? And you don't know how to navigate it, and you don't have the words to express how you feel, because it's not something most teenagers are prepared for. Most teenagers aren't prepared for being a teenager in high school. How we're prepared is through the media. For example, High School Musical. When I was watching High School Musical, that's what I thought my high school experience was going to be a little bit. I don't know, I thought I was going to be like on the volleyball team. You know, everybody wants to be cool and popular. Everybody wants to have everybody love them. Everybody, especially a lot of the girls think that once you enter high school, boys will immediately flock to you and they will just love you. But reality is, these boys are stink, they're disgusting, and they have shit streaks in their drawers. And that's when they start to discover acts, and they put acts all over their body, and you can smell them from 3 miles away down the hall. But you're gonna be on a emotional roller coaster that you are not prepared for, and no one tells you to be prepared for it, and you have to figure it out on your own, while other 15-year-olds are going through the same thing. So guess what? You guys clash on many things. Friendships, especially when it comes to boys, okay? And a lot of things can happen because of that. Let's think of 13 Reasons Why, right? You might think, wow, one girl is getting attention and the other girl is sitting there jealous that she's getting attention. Little do they know, actually, not 13 Reasons Why. Grand Army. Let's think of Grand Army. Joey, one of the girls, right? She's pretty popular. She has male friends that love her, and she has friends that support her beliefs, right? Of feminism and women rights and whatnot. While I believe the other girl, Leah, was resentful of that fact. She wanted to get the guys to like her, so she did a lot. But in reality, what happened to Joey? Exactly, she was assaulted. She was sexually assaulted by those same friends that loved her. They plotted on her and they preyed on her and got her in a vulnerable position and excuse me, and took advantage of her and brutalized her and violated her. So guess what? Girls like Leah, I believe her name's Leah. If I get it wrong, oh well, I can't be nice to pick me. I'm sorry. Girls like Leah would think that that's what she deserves because she was flaunting herself. It's not just girls like Leah. Girls like Leah start like that way and they grow up. So guess what? Everything is your fault, right? And that's where it starts. 15. All these brooding ideologies and emotions starts at such a young age, and a lot of it, despite it's our environment, right? But we're in school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you don't think you're gonna come across a lot of these girls like Leah, or that these type of ideologies came from they didn't come out of nowhere, because it came from their household, and being in an environment where there's a bunch of guys, it kind of expedites that mentality, and now you're in competition with other girls who are going through same hormonal effects and things like that, and they put themselves on the line in order to be seen as worthy. Girls like Leah in Georgia. Yes, this movie pushes that, you know, maybe he'll like you if you were less weird, if you were less quirky, if you liked, and he would like you if you I'm sorry, I'm not used to talking for so long. I know you're probably like, what? I don't talk in front of the camera, so I'm just getting used to this. So, but as I was saying, this movie is kind of saying he'll probably like you more if you're more hot. So if you get more boobs, enhance yourself. If you were less weird, and if you took part in his interests, he'll like you. And you just have to keep trying, because you're the one that has to do that, and not him. And for me, it's kind of just like, this movie kind of pushes, you're just a body to them, and you're not a person, a whole person with thoughts, nuances, and substance. these girls have things outside of boys that they like but they don't want to like, right? And it's kind of being pushed at certain points in this movie. Let's talk about the male worship epidemic. Georgia thinks in order to be happy she needs to have a boyfriend, and that mentality is dangerous. Why? Because there are girls that will go to great lengths in order to be with a man, in order to be happy, because they think men will bring them happiness, and not finding true love and finding out who they are within themselves to be happy. And a lot of girls will internalize that. So when things go wrong, the girls will blame themselves. So for example, if a guy cheats, right, she's gonna say, am I not pretty enough? Am I not enough? Is my ass not big enough? And what am I not doing to make him stay? And that could stem from daddy issues. You know, if your dad wasn't there, or if your dad was a piece of shit, your self-worth and your concept of self-worth can get warped. So you go looking for validation in all the wrong places. Why? Because your father wasn't there to instill certain things, good things into you, and saying this is healthy love and this is unhealthy love. So a lot of times a woman will go for a lot of emotionally unavailable men and try to change them because they think that them being there for them and being of convenience for them is going to get them to stay and change their minds. When in reality, these men don't deserve nothing. They don't deserve shit. Stop. Full stop. Okay? Full stop. And tying this back to the movie, Georgia literally pays a guy, a male prostitute.
What kind of experience do you have?
This is male prostitution, underage male prostitution. She pays him in order to snog. That's where the snogging in the title comes from. She pays him, and they were going in. They were going in for a long periodically time. And I just have to say, is everything okay at home with that little guy? He is an OnlyFans dude in the making. I mean, is he gonna make much compared to OnlyFans girls? Probably not. But I'm saying he is an OnlyFans dude in the making. That I will say. Where did you learn that from? Because it has to have to come from somewhere. It had definitely had to come from somewhere. I have questions, and an inquiring minds would like to know. Inquiring minds would like to know. So, like I was saying, so when girls think that if they're not enough, they're gonna do any and everything. So if he's emotionally unavailable, it just reinforces the notion that this is not love. This is kind of abuse. I know I'm taking it pretty far with that take, but it starts from somewhere, and it has to be paid attention to, because stuff like this cannot go unnoticed. And this movie was being shown to a lot of girls. I mean, this movie aired on Nickelodeon. I remember when the movie aired, and I was just thinking, like, why are they fighting over this guy? And why are they doing all this with these dudes? And these dudes stink. Immediately, once I saw those dudes fart fire, I was so disgusted with all of them. Holy! Robbie included. Sorry. Like, I don't care. Well, yes, the movie was funny. I was just sitting there like, ew. Like, these dudes are disgusting. But if a girl on another part of the city or state sees that, or another country sees that, they're gonna be like, oh, so this movie is a reflection of what goes on in my family, and since I'm seeing it on TV, it must be true, and this is something that I have to keep on doing. And they're gonna grow up to be the worst kind of bitches you would encounter. I mean, they will be scared of a bitch that gets all the attention and it's not on them, right? You go to a club, and let's say you're getting, all the dudes are coming up to you and they're buying you drinks and they want to take you out and they're talking to you. And the pick me on the other hand is like, she's at home, she's like, I don't go to the clubs because my man, like, he knows where home is. He always comes home at the end of the night. Yeah, he may be at the clubs, but he knows where home is. I cook, I clean for my man. These are quotes. These are words I will never say in my right mind. Okay, but, and then they come to find out they're getting cheated on with a girl that looks completely opposite of them, that has completely different values of them. All I'm saying is, when you see things in the media that are being pushed to you when you're very young, a lot of that can be seen as a reflection to other people so they can continue their behavior. And that's very dangerous. So now let's talk about the girl versus girl catfights. The emotional damage is not from the boys, it's also from the girls, okay? They're at the age where girls are really developing and
getting into womanhood, so to speak.
And other girls are developing more faster, or at a faster rate than other girls. So when a girl sees, let's say there's one girl, Georgia. Let's say Georgia Georgia and her friends see Jenna, the upperclassman with the boobs, you know, the style, the confidence, and it's getting male attention. And her friends are comparing herself to her, how they can get like her. And thus, Georgia is taking snogging lessons from a underage male prostitute.
What kind of experience do you have?
The male only star in the making. A lot of girls will internalize that, because if they grow up and see another woman with bigger assets or anything that will garner male attention, she's going to compete subconsciously or consciously with her to get male attention or validation from those men. And sometimes it can get very detrimental to the point of her own health. For example, Kendra put her own health underneath seeing her psychiatrist because she was so excited to see him, and she had a possibility of internal bleeding, but she canceled that and she said, fuck that, I want to go see my man. He has to go, you know, I want to give him sexual content. He don't even know you. Like, there's a reason why you're on Zoom and not in person. Anyways, but also when you see girls, like when girls start comparing themselves to each other and pitting themselves against each other like that, they will always blame the girl and not the man. So if they get cheated on, the first person that they're gonna blame is the other woman. What did that other woman do to have her man come to her, or why was she with my man in the first place? Instead of, your man is the one that owes you the loyalty, he's the one that is committed in quotes to you, so why did he step out on you? And so this ties back to the internalization of and getting insecurity of, am I not enough? A lot of girls will start thinking, am I not enough? Was my coochie not good enough? And yes. No, but he's the one that cheated, so they're not gonna think he's the problem. They're gonna think they're the problem and she's the problem. She's the problem for seducing him, and the girl is the problem because she's not enough. But he's the liar here. He's the one that chose violence. He chose violence, okay? But the movie, am I even talking about the movie at this point? Who knows? But the movie isn't gonna teach you all of that. No, the movie's not gonna teach you all of that. This is a kids movie meant for like 8 to 10 year olds, or maybe even 6 to 10 year olds. But there's a lot of things in this movie that has to be spoken about now that I'm older, and you know, we've seen some things, whether it be in real life or on the internet, and other people that we just cannot ignore. So going through some type of humiliation with your dude is seen sometimes as like a passageway, and it's kind of romanticizing heartbreaking a little bit, because when Georgia goes through that conflict where I think Robbie found out that she was a scheme that Todd set up. Basically, he was like, he didn't want anything to do with her, basically. But she really fought for her man. She fought to get that man back. She did, and that's something that's also dangerous, because if something falls through, albeit yes, Georgia did lie. Let's take this in another context. Let's say shit falls through in your relationship. It is expected on the woman to try to repair that relationship instead of the man, and that is very dangerous, because that puts the woman in so much emotional turmoil. And once again, it goes to the notion of, am I not enough? Am I not pretty enough? What am I doing that's not enough to keep him here and have him by my side with me? Because I did all this work for his attention, but he left so quickly. So now what am I supposed to do? Now I have to up the ante in order to get his attention and keep his attention and maintain it. But I mean, this is a Nickelodeon movie, so this movie's not going to teach you that. No. So let's tie back what I said about having the girls having to fix it. So at a point of the movie, Georgia witnesses her parents' love unravel, and she thinks that her dad is losing her mom to another man. The whole time he's right. And Georgia is trying to find ways to manipulate her parents to get back together, even though they technically never really had anything going on. There wasn't any type of strife or turbulence that was hitting their marriage. So she was doing the most, but it could be because she thinks that love doesn't last. And you know, like I said, it's always up to she probably took that and internalized it, and she was probably like, you know what, it's my duty to save this marriage. Like I said, and that responsibility falls on the woman or the girl, but not the dude. So this probably further pushes her narrative of getting a boyfriend, because when she gets it, she's afraid that it's gonna be lost. Knowing like teenage love is not something that lasts forever, okay? High school sweethearts, I mean, even they can get very miserable, okay? Because they're the only two people that they've experienced each other. They have not experienced anybody else. So, and that's where anyway, moving on. But her obsession with getting a boyfriend possibly stems, like I said, from her parents' relationship unraveling. So she has to go and chase that and fix it, so she can be satisfied with herself when she gets a boyfriend, because she knows how to fix it if things were to go awry. But little does she know, I mean, teenage love doesn't really last, okay? Unless there's a baby involved. Maybe love will last. Love will not last. Teenage love, okay? Like, teenage love is not something that's permanent. But I guess you could say the takeaway here would be young girls are not therapists, but because of what Georgia is doing, that could possibly program her to unintentionally be such an emotional cushion for the dudes that she's going to be in a relationship with further on in the future. And we are taught that the love will only survive if we are the ones that maintains it and hold it together. And another thing would be that they gave her a front row seat to emotional chaos and then expected her to focus on her homework, right? She was so distracted that imagine if you were a child and your parents were going through divorce. You probably somehow felt like it was your fault, right? So you probably were trying to find a way to get them together, try to fight for the family and get them to stay together. Most time it's something that is out of your control because legalities are involved, right? And you are so preoccupied with that, your presence in school changes. And I don't know how you're gonna show for your homework, your assignments, your classmates and teachers, but you are filled with so much emotional, maybe even physical turmoil that it changes you altogether. And seeing a parent's marriage dissolve in the case of Georgia, and she's also trying to figure out how to kiss a boy, she feels like it's her job to keep it all together, right? And she's trying to get it right in her books. And yeah, it creates a sense of urgency that she has to get it right in her books. But the whole time it's bigger than her, because marriage is something, and it could be something a bit too nuanced for a 14-year-old to understand. So she has no business even involving herself in that, right? She just has to let it run its course, and then maybe when she's older and out of that, she can see it from a different perspective. But within society, girls are taught to be like emotional fixers, maybe even fixers in other ways. You know, they're taught to be fixers of broken families, relationships, and boys. So that when the mentality of a woman that she says she can change him, that stems from society, you know? And society is just like, the whole concept of society is just like similar beliefs that is reflected in different parts of the world, and they all come together to say this is how it is collective. And if it is collective, that means it has to be done. But she doesn't know that. She's 14, 15, and she has a long way to go. And like I said, 15 is like the prequel to all the emotional mess, the emotional roller coasters that she's gonna have, because when she's like 25, she's gonna look back and be like, I was doing that for no reason. It was no need for me to behave that way, because it can get much worse, especially once sex gets involved. I know I'm taking it a bit too far, but I'm just saying women are taught to be fixers, and especially at a young age like Georgia, she doesn't even know her own foundation, because she's catering herself and losing herself and transforming herself, not transforming, completely changing herself, so transforming, in order to like a guy, but she can't even stand firm in her own beliefs on who she is. Now I want to talk about the unnecessary perversion that I brought up earlier. So there was a scene, I believe, in the girls' locker room where they were getting changed, and there was a shot of one of the friends' bum, and she was in a thong, and I thought that was so unnecessary, because we did not need to see that, because we all know that these girls are underage. They're like 14, 15 in a locker room, and that was just so, I was so weirded out by that, because like, why do we have to see that? These are young girls, like that is inappropriate. So imagine there are grown people in production, there are adults in production that are just zooming in on this girl's butts, and they're trying to make it funny. But to me, I never found that funny. I actually found that disgusting. And the sexualization of Jenna, although that was something she inflicted on her. So didn't we also get a butt shot of her? I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, we saw her in a very provocative light, right? She was the Jezebel, so to speak, right? And why are you portraying a 14-year-old girl that? Imagine if she was a girl that was my complexion. It probably would have been much, much worse, because they do not see these girls, like I said, as whole people. They see them as bodies in order for them to get off on, and that is disturbing to me, because that can have young girls thinking that they need to be extremely provocative all the time in order to get male attention, and that can lead them down a dangerous path that they may not want to go to. For example, you see this movie and you're like, wait, she's wearing a thong, let me put on a thong. If someone notices that, either a boy or someone that's much older, and you probably take that in as, oh, I'm doing something right. So you continue to be more provocative in order to get male attention, not knowing that this is how it's supposed to be, and sometimes not knowing that can lead you into a path of dangerous interactions with men. So if you're catering to a man, it's not a good path, because you're doing something wrong, because they only think of one thing, right? They're only getting off, and they only see you as a body. I'm not talking about the movie anymore, obviously. A lot of times there's a lot of girls who end up in situations where they get violated sexually, and then, for example, Joey, not saying that it's her fault, but the guys take that as the girls wanting it or asking for it. And when you're in that mentality, it's something that's hard to come back from. Or when you go through something like that, you don't want to let's say it's like almost a wake-up call. Either sometimes they double down on that type of mentality where they continue to be provocative and they end up in an industry that's only catered to being provocative. So like corn or lonely bands. Oh shit, I said only already. Oh, I'm gonna have to bleep it or something. But I'm saying you will be in an industry where you are only seen as a body, and that could stem from seeing imagery like seeing a girl, seeing a young girl's ass. You as an 8-year-old seeing a young girl's ass, you're like, wait. So in order to get male attention, I have to wear a thong and show my butt, and once they like me, then I'm all right with them. And you keep doing that, and that could lead you into very, very treacherous territory. And it shows that that type of mentality shows that you are desperate to be validated, and you want to be chosen. You want to be seen, heard, seen, not heard. You want to be seen and chosen. But let's get into some final thoughts. Okay, despite all the mess, the schemes, the thongs, the silicone, and Jenna trying to reheat and no close miss nostrils, you can never, babe. Your hair was too stiff. Okay, the hair was too stiff. Georgia faking her entire personality, babe. I bet you in like 6 months tops, that relationship is done. Okay, let a new bitch move into that school. Let there be a new girl that is a mixture of you and Jenna. It's over. Okay, because boys are fickle and they like to fart fire. And they have shit streaks in their drawers. They are not the prize. Okay, despite all of that, I will say that this movie was pretty accurate to the emotional and the chaoticness of being a teenage girl. The highs were quite high and the lows were crawling on hell's floor, scratching Satan's feet. Okay, and I sometimes wanted to slap myself in the face or slap them. Okay, because the movie was depicting them being very, very desperate for let me slow it down. This movie was depicting them to be very desperate to be seen and chosen and validated by catering to them. And sometimes I just wanted to reach through the TV and be like, get yourself together, get yourself together. You're better than this. Stop doing all this for these boys who fart fire and have shit streaks in their drawers. And when the friendship was collateral damage because they were being pick-me's, I was like, why are y'all fighting this? Why are y'all fighting for these boys who have shit streaks in their drawers? Like, come on, you guys were friends before these dudes and y'all should be friends after these dudes. They made up once they all found their boyfriends and whatnot, but it was like, so if you guys didn't have those boyfriends, would y'all still be friends? I don't know, I question that. But rewatching this movie now as an adult, you know, as a kid, I found this movie hilarious while some things were questionable, but I overlooked it because I didn't have the nuance and the not the vocabulary, but yes, I guess you would say the language to express what I was thinking. But watching this back as an adult, I'm like, yeah, a lot of things are questionable. There's pick-me-ism in here, unnecessary perversion, and the emotional turmoil that a lot of girls go through should not be glorified. It should be seen as a reality. I know these comedy movies are truths with laughs, okay? It's meant to make you laugh, but there's a lot of truth to it, okay? And you are not enough unlovable just because a guy did not text you back. And your friends, they should be there for you no matter what. Well, not no matter what, because once you start being a weird pick-me and you start choosing a man over them, but you shouldn't start fighting over dudes, and you shouldn't start fighting over male attention, because as quick as he gave you attention, he can give that attention to someone else. So why are you guys bickering? You should have a stronger base than that, and you guys are better than that. They're better than that. Once they learn that, it's only up from there. So yeah, I'm gonna give Angus, Thongs and Perfect Snogging a problematic 4.5. Why? Because first of all, it was funny. Like, I mean, despite my gripes with the movie, it actually is funny and you are gonna laugh. But there are some points where you're just gonna be like, it's too on the nose, it's too obvious of the pick-me-ism, and you just can't help but be like, you just can't help but cringe, okay? Because it's real, okay? Maybe painfully real for some. And if you ever been that girl that was crying over a dude who probably didn't even know existed, or possibly gave you the bare minimum, just know you're not alone. Not me.
Really,
not me,
nigga?
but I'm saying you're not alone, because there are other girls like you. Okay, hug it out in the comments. You deserve more than the bare minimum. Hopefully you come to recognize that and you don't shame other girls who expect the highest of highest, right? Also, what did y'all think of the movie? Drop your most embarrassing, not most embarrassing, but what was a time you liked the guy so much that you completely forgot all of your senses? Okay, what are some things that you did to get a guy's attention because you liked him so much? Okay, drop your pick-me moments in the comments. Okay, let's see what's going on here. But we'll watch the movie back and see if you can see where I'm coming from, with some of the points that I was talking about. Okay, what do you young girls who are watching this movie now that there are grown women think of this movie? Drop it in the comments. If you have a diary, go back and look into it and see where you were going a little crazy. If you've ever stuffed your bra like Jenna, hired a male prostitute like Georgia, comment down below. Like this video. Okay, Vixens, thanks for sticking with me through this nostalgia visual. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this chaotic visual as well, because I kind of was going on a little bit of tangents here and there. Okay, but don't forget, don't be like OJ and forget your glove. STDs are free. Wrap it up. But till next time, I will see you later in the next visual. Later.
Miss my wiggle.
Okay. Man. Do I look oily? I cook it like and clean. I cook it. Well, you should cook it.